Court's in session, phones on silent, brains on. Today's defendant is not a person, it is an idea. The idea that you can run a country on slogans. Because on June 24th, the ground in Venezuela shook twice, hard, and a fault line did what no press release can do. It asked one question. When the building is actually falling, who is coming, and how fast? Let's read the file. Here is the charge. We argue about government like it's a personality test. Left, right, your team, my team. But a government is not a vibe. It is a machine with a job. When something enormous and indifferent comes for ordinary people, the machine is supposed to work. Venezuela just got handed the hardest version of that test, and the whole jury watches the answer arrive. Exhibit A. The scale. 2 quakes back-to-back, a magnitude 7.2, then 39 seconds later a 7.5, the strongest Venezuela has felt since 1900. The dead were counted in the hundreds and climbing toward 1,000, thousands more injured. This is not a fender bender you spin in a tweet. This is the day that finds out, instantly, whether a country built the boring stuff that saves lives. Now, the boring stuff is the whole point, so let the record reflect what it actually is. Building codes, nobody applauds. Hospitals stocked before the emergency, not during it. Power that stays on. Rescue crews who train for the day you pray never comes. None of that trends. And all of it is the line between a hard night and a mass grave. That is state capacity. It is competence wearing a hard hat. Exhibit C. The official response. The government declared a nationwide state of emergency and told medical staff to report for duty. Good, that is the right headline. But a headline is a promise, and the test is whether the promise is backed. So the defense says we acted. The question for this court is not, did you announce? It is, did the machine actually move? And here is the cross-examination, where the promise meets the receipt. At the same time the emergency was declared, hospitals were short of equipment and medication. The power kept cutting out. 90 hours in, crews were still blocked by too few trained specialists and gear that broke down. You cannot declare your way out of a warehouse that was already empty. And the part that should make the jury sit up. While people were trapped under concrete, witnesses described officials showing up to the rubble, taking selfies, and leaving without lifting a single slab. The cameras came. The capacity did not. That is a state that learned to perform a rescue without learning to run one. So who benefits? Not the people under the rubble. The performance benefits the performer. A selfie at a disaster is cheap, a stocked hospital is expensive, and for years somebody chose cheap. The bill for that choice does not arrive on a normal Tuesday. It arrives in 39 seconds with a magnitude attached, paid by whoever stood in the wrong building. The jury here is American, so let's hold up the mirror. That test does not check your passport or your party. It came for us in New Orleans. It came for us in a Texas grid that froze. The lesson is not, look at them over there. It is that competence is not a foreign language, and neither is neglect. Any government can pass it. Any government can flunk it. And here's the reveal this whole case was walking you toward. Ideology is the costume. Capacity is the body underneath. On a calm day, you can argue about the costume forever. Left, right, socialist, free market. But an earthquake does not care what you call yourself. It only checks whether the hospital had supplies and the rescuer was trained. That's not a clash of ideologies. It's one competence test every ideology pays in the exact same room. So here is the verdict. A government is not the speech it gives about itself. It is what shows up when the building comes down. Demand the boring competence in good weather because it is the only argument that holds when the ground stops holding. The defendant, the idea that slogans can govern, is found guilty, and the sentence already fell on the innocent. Watch the hands, not the mouth. I'm Madeline, and this is Pixel Politics.